Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you here with me today. We're going to be watching the western part of the Caribbean through the southern Gulf over the next several days to a couple weeks. We have a big tropical wave that could become a disturbance. Lots of tropical moisture, flood threat running high. Could this make it up into South Texas as well? We'll explore all the possibilities for you. And also looking further, the intertropical convergence zone is awakening out here south of the Cape Verde Islands through Trinidad Tobago here into the eastern Caribbean. We'll see if we're going to see a tropical storm before the end of June runs out here. And we're also going to be looking at the eastern Pacific here. We have Tropical Storm Dalila here, and also we could be looking at a hurricane by late week making potential landfall in South Mexico. And throughout eastern North America, major stormy times are ahead. Severe weather outbreaks from the plains eastward, mesoscale convective complexes, ring of fire pattern takes over into late June. Let's get into it. All right, so here we go. We're going to start off here with the Western Caribbean. As we continue to go throughout the next couple days, we're going to be watching this tropical wave moving along the coastline of Nicaragua, Honduras. Lots of deep tropical moisture. You can see this really does start to get cranking around the 17th into the 18th. So come midweek, here it is. I'll show you. Just zoom out here. You can see the area of high pressure well east of Bermuda. That's going to keep these waves suppressed pretty far to the south here. Now, as we go further out towards Trinidad Tobago, right now it looks like just some scattered showers through midweek. But watch this intertropical convergence zone. This is going to get cranking. We're also going to talk about several minutes from now the Eastern Pacific as this spin up really takes effect. But yeah, the big show's been in the Eastern Pacific as we're racking up the storm names. But watch this. As we head through the 19th here, you can see lots of heavy rain throughout Central America. This is going to be the big story. At least this week, you can see by the 20th, we get this wave moving up potentially as a disturbance. Tampico, Mexico, northward to Brownsville, Texas. Definitely watch out. Maybe further north here, depending on how far north this tropical wave makes it. Then we start to see another resurgence of a tropical wave. Also watch out southeast of Trinidad Tobago here. We're looking at by the 21st, we could see a couple flare-ups. So some of these tropical waves getting pretty strong here. This one looking pretty menacing here by the 21st into the 22nd. Also another one southeast of Trinidad Tobago as we have this area of high pressure start to build westward towards the Bahamas and South Florida. That's going to keep the eastern Gulf really suppressed with action here. A lot of sinking air, and that means a lot of high pressure. But look at this. Through the 21st, you can see this tropical wave really tries to get cranking here on the GFS. We'll see if that does on the European model in just a couple minutes here. But look at the tropical moisture surging throughout South Texas. It is quite possible whatever happens with this system, the first system, it could really bring some moisture, much needed moisture up here into Texas. Now watch this. Here's the 22nd. We're watching two tropical waves here. Look at the intertropical convergence zone. It's bouncing further to the north. So that means we're going to start getting into the threat of more tropical wave action and disturbances. So as we head through the 22nd into the 23rd, you really start to see this system blossom across parts of Nicaragua, Honduras, and Belize. Keeps it well south of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Look at this system across Trinidad Tobago. You're really socked in with some heavy rain here. Now, as we head on through the 24th into the 25th, you can really start to see this system start to take shape here. Now, of course, the GFS is very notorious for closing off these low pressures much earlier than the European, and we'll explore that. But here it is. A lot can change between now and then. We're in the 24th here, but the GFS is closing off an area of low pressure. So it is quite possible we could see a tropical storm before the end of the month. We'll continue to watch it here as heavy rain pours into parts of Nicaragua and Honduras again. This is going to be the big trouble spot, for heavy flooding potential. Now we get a little bit of a break here into the Eastern Caribbean. Look at that. Intertropical convergence zone taking a little bit of a break as this area of low pressure really starts to take over in parts of the Western Caribbean. You can see the surge of moisture. Then by the 26th into the 27th, we start to get another tropical wave just due east of Trinidad and Tobago here. Now, the GFS is showing by the 27th that we'll start to see this very broad area of low pressure. It is possible we could see some tropical development because by this time, steering currents become weaker. vertical wind shear starts to slacken a bit. And of course, it's getting into higher sea surface temperature content, especially into the northwestern Caribbean. Now, the GFS continuing to want to break this off into two areas of low pressure, one in the Bay of Campeche and then the other one here into the western part of the Caribbean. We'll continue to watch it here through the 28th, still showing a very broad area of low pressure across parts of the western Caribbean, southern Gulf. So we'll watch it here. Plenty of time to watch it. That moves towards Tampico again. Broken record here, it seems. Same area is getting heavy flooding rain. Now we watch another tropical wave. This one looks even bigger by the 29th here into the 30th. That pushing the last frame into Honduras, Nicaragua, and then up towards this next one, Tampico, Mexico again. And look at this. This seems to be a big trend here across the north central Caribbean. Clear as a bell from the Cayman Islands all the way to Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and eastward. Maybe just a few showers here in Puerto Rico. Northeast Caribbean islands looking pretty dry as well. Maybe a few showers southward to Trinidad and Tobago. Let's take a look at the European run. All right, so we're going to take a look at the European model here. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our tropical analysis. European, we're comparing with the GFS. So yeah, the Central American area, with the exception for the northern Yucatan right around Cancun, we're looking pretty stormy. Look at these showers and thunder showers as we get these tropical waves moving through. Do we have any chance of organization here on the European model? Well, as we go throughout the week, Tuesday, June 17th, look at this. Yeah, this looks pretty interesting. Also, another tropical wave moving through the central and southern Lesser Antilles here. It's something we're going to keep an eye on. Gulf's looking pretty quiet, except for the Bay of Campeche area here. That's where we're going to see, a little bit of a flare up here with our big tropical wave. Now, look at this we head throughout the week. Most of the activity looks like it's going to be on the eastern Pacific side with another potential storm. But look at here from the western Caribbean to the Bay of Campeche. Also, this big wave, that's going to be approaching the southern Lesser Antilles, Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up to Grenada, St. Vincent area. It's going to be a really stormy week. And we're going to go over those rainfall amounts momentarily here. But you can see that tropical wave moving near Tampico, Mexico here. Another one moving just north of Honduras through Belize, also getting Cancun into the shower and thunderstorm. And another large tropical wave, gusty winds and heavy rain moving through the Lesser Antilles here. So watch out. It's stormy times of it. The intertropical convergence zone really opening up here as we head throughout time. June 19th into the 20th, you can see that surge of moisture just continuing here through the islands and through Dominican Republic and Jamaica area as well as we flare up right around the 20th. But a little bit drier conditions set in. But most of the activity remains right through this region here. So we're going to continue to watch it through the 21st. So picking up here, we can progress throughout the rest of June here. And look at this. This goes to show it doesn't look like any one area spins up here with the European model, but we do have a lot of tropical wave activity. It's just going to continue here into the Eastern Caribbean. There's a little wave moving through the Western Caribbean right around the 24th here. And as you can see, Central America is really socked in with a lot of this rain. Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Belize, these areas through the 25th. A little bit of a clearing spell here through the Eastern Caribbean and Northeast Caribbean islands. Little bit of a wave here affecting South Florida and the Bahamas right around the 25th into the 26th. And we're going to start to watch an interesting feature kind of conglomerate here from the Cayman Islands to Cancun area, western tip of Cuba. So Central America really continuing to stay socked in with rainfall here, low pressure winding up here into the southwestern Caribbean. But watch what happens here. We now have another area of high pressure building in here from this main high east of Bermuda. Look what happens. Things really start to clear out towards the end of June. You can see 29th into the 30th. We really start to open up the intertropical convergence zone southeast of Trinidad, Tobago here. So watch out. Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a quiet spell here, but I expect that to ramp up into the first week of July. And I did want to show you the bigger picture out here on the European model, our intertropical convergence zone as we head throughout the week. Watch this area. Yeah, it's always further to the south this time of year, but look how as we go out through time here, there's some pretty strong tropical waves well south of the Cape Verde Islands here, but this is something we're going to have to keep a close watch on because you can see we have a lot of tropical wave action going on here, and it's going to affect the southern Lesser Antilles and eventually the southwestern parts of the Caribbean. And looking at the Western Caribbean here, your rainfall analysis throughout the week. Yeah, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic here, Bahamas, Puerto Rico. You're looking drier, Cancun as well. But look at as we head throughout the week. It's mainly Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua, down to Costa Rica here. This is where we're going to see that surge of tropical moisture with our potential tropical wave, disturbance. And look at some of these rainfall amounts. Yeah, Jamaica, you're looking about 20 to 40, maybe eastern tip right around 100. Cayman Islands right around 20 to 40. But look at Nicaragua here, 300 to 400 millimeters up to Nicaragua here, 1 to 250. But look at Belize here. Some areas could be approaching 400 millimeters of rainfall. This is going to be a lot. And eventually, Cancun, you're going to get in on a little bit of this as we head throughout the week into next weekend, throughout the rest of the month as well through the 30th. All right, so looking at rainfall totals here into the Western Caribbean, Central America area. You can see there it is, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, kind of dry for the most part this week through next weekend. But look at as we head throughout this week, Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, and then as we start to head towards that last week of June, look at the rain ramping up here. Upwards, this is crazy amounts of rain, 400 to 800 millimeters. North coast of Honduras getting towards 400 to 500 millimeters. Also Belize getting into the 300 to 400 millimeter range here. So watch out. Cancun, you're kind of on the lighter side, but still towards 60 to 70. South Texas, we're going to have to watch this. Tampico area getting upwards of 300 millimeters, but that may creep up towards South Texas. And look at Dominican Republic here. We're getting upwards of 100 millimeters, 150 millimeters in interior highland areas. Most other areas, 40 to 80 millimeters. And looking at the Eastern Caribbean here, yeah, initially a dry start until we get to about midweek. We start to moisten things up. Trinidad, Tobago, up to the central Lesser Antilles. Puerto Rico stays pretty dry. We get some showers gusting next weekend throughout Dominican Republic here, so watch out. If we just zoom in here, you can see the Dominican Republic averaging out to 25 to about 50 millimeters on average, right around a quarter to maybe up to a half an inch in Puerto Rico. Look at here, the Northeast Caribbean Islands, if you have a vacation, not looking at much rain, but then you go down the Lesser Antilles chain here, looking at 60 to probably as close to 125 millimeters on some of these islands here. So watch out all the way down to Trinidad, Tobago. Tropical wave action is really going to kick up. And moving here into the Eastern Caribbean, you can see through midweek, it's mostly dry until we get into the Southern Lesser Antilles here. This is where we're going to start to see the moisture increase. You can see all the way through June 27th here. Trinidad, Tobago, upwards of 100, 150 millimeters, all the way up the island chain here, close to 50 to 80 millimeters. Puerto Rico, yeah, you're going to get about a quarter to a half inch locally higher. Dominican Republic, you're getting up those areas 60 to 125 millimeters. And as we head to the Eastern Pacific, I want to show you Tropical Storm Dalila here off the Mexican coastline. The good news is this is heading away from the Mexican coast, but we're watching another area that could become our E-name storm. This is probably going to flare up in the next couple days, and it's going to cause some big-time rainfall along the coast. Will it move to a hurricane status? It's quite possible. Right around the 19th into the 20th, we're showing a hurricane here on our GFS model, brushing the coastline here and potentially making landfall. So we're going to have to watch out for this. This could be a landfalling hurricane along the South Mexican coastline here. One of the biggest threats, though, with this is going to be the torrential rain as this continues to move up towards Puerto Vallarta here through the 21st. So this is going to be pretty interesting. Acapulco all the way up to Puerto Vallarta here. Watch out. Heavy rain and gusty winds is going to be the rule. And we're going to have to watch out for more tropical waves as more fire through the end of June. Looking at the rest of your Sunday evening into Sunday night, yeah, you can see where the big storms are going to be. They're going to fire mostly through parts of the Pennsylvania-Maryland line southward here, especially towards North Carolina, the Outer Banks region. Watch out, Gulf Coast region here, northern Florida, even into the interior peninsula. We're looking at storms firing here as well. So these are the trouble areas. The big area is going to be throughout Virginia, eastern North Carolina. It's going to be quite a washout scenario here throughout these areas. So just keep an eye to the sky. You know, a lot of these heavy rain threat running high as well. There's a lot of flood watches that have been expanding throughout this region. So watch out as we head through 8 a.m. on Monday. That pulls off the coast for the most part, still holding on to some shower and thunderstorm activity Norfolk, Virginia here, southeastward off the coast. But look at the Gulf Coast area. We get a surge of tropical moisture moving up through. Also some big storms firing throughout northeastern Texas and Louisiana here as we head through to Monday night into early Tuesday morning. And then the big storm system, watch out. Severe weather threat is running very high up into this area. If we just back this up just a second here, you can see the northern plains. We're going to get these mesoscale convective complexes moving through parts of Minnesota as we head throughout Monday, 11 a.m. Look at that. And then firing towards the 16th, Monday evening, 9 p.m. Look at these storm elements. This is going to be a big severe weather outbreak. Tornado threats running high. And then as we stretch to the eastward here, pick up where I left off, you can see some stray storms making their way potentially into the Cleveland area. It pretty much holds off most of the day until later in the evening. You start to get 17th here by 7 a.m. on Tuesday. The surge of moisture moving through the Ohio Valley, and then we get some showers propagating throughout the northeast here. So watch out. There's lots of areas to watch here. As we head up into the northeast, you get those showers moving in. Here's 5 a.m. on Tuesday. So all in all, Monday, you're going to get some showers moving through parts of the Susquehanna River Valley, maybe some scattered showers with the marine influence here into southeastern New England, and then down the Appalachians here. So very active the next couple days. Severe weather analysis here. I want to show you where we're going to be looking. There's a marginal risk here in parts of the mid-Atlantic, eastern North Carolina, Virginia, as we head throughout the rest of your Sunday. The big area is going to be eastern Montana here, the Dakotas, where you have almost an enhanced risk pretty much here into the orange and a slight risk here into the yellow zone. And stretching on into Monday, look at the Midwest here, especially Minnesota, Dakotas, Nebraska. Enhanced risk here into the orange, tornado threat running high. And heading on into Tuesday, yeah, it's going to stay active here in the northern plains, the Dakotas, Minnesota, parts of northwestern Iowa as well. And look at this. We go into Wednesday, our rare day 4 outlook. Central plains, watch out. Tornado threat running high. And as we go throughout the week, watch this. Thursday, it could be a really rough day. Southern Michigan all the way down to Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, northwestern Ohio, southeastern parts of Wisconsin. Tornado threat running very unusually high. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off here on our GFS run, and then I'll show you the European momentarily. As we continue through the rest of Tuesday into Wednesday here, look what's going to be happening. This is some big-time severe weather. We're going to watch for some mesoscale convective systems as we head through Wednesday here. You still have you have this area of high pressure off the U.S. East Coast, so you got this moisture streaming northward that we're going to have to watch out for along the Appalachians up through the parts of interior Northeast. Now, as we head into Thursday, here we go, Wednesday. This is still later Wednesday at 8 p.m. Look at these storms firing around Indiana and through Ohio. This is going to be a big mesoscale convective complex as this storm winds up across the northern Great Lakes here. That is going to bring some storminess. Now, it's a little bit less here on the GFS than it is on the European model. It shows storms firing later Thursday, well southeast here, towards parts of eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, down and through Virginia here. Watch out. As this low pressure winds up, there's going to be some gusty winds on the backside of it, obviously. And then as we head on into next weekend, we're actually shaping up to be a pretty good weekend here as high pressure kicks in and we get these mesoscale convective complexes forming on the north side of this storm system. So we could be looking at some mesoscale convective complexes heading north into Michigan and eventually western New York as we head through the 22nd into the 23rd. But you can see what's going to be dominating our weather, this big area of high pressure off the U.S. East Coast. And we're going to start to get into that real summertime weather pattern. There it is. Interestingly enough, this high kicks pretty far to the east. So by the 24th, we get this moisture that keeps wanting to crop up through parts of North Carolina, Virginia, eastern Tennessee, West Virginia. These areas going to get some storminess continuing. But that kind of fizzles out until about the 25th down and through South Carolina. So you see this little feature off the U.S. East Coast. We'll be watching that potentially for tropical development. And then we start to get that ring of fire, you can see. So watch on the northern end of this. We could see some mesoscale convective complexes forming here through the 27th into the 28th. There's the last frame. It's just continued storminess, even though we have a big area of high pressure. All right, so looking at our European model run here, picking up where our feature radar left off, comparing to the GFS, you can see as we head throughout the rest of Monday into Tuesday, it is going to remain very active. Ohio River Valley up into parts of the Northeast will start to get more in the way Tuesday. This is Tuesday the 17th. So watch out. Surge of moisture up the Appalachians into the Northeast here, some convection. Watch out. This is the start of a very big severe weather outbreak. Mesoscale convective system complex is running high. Also some convection firing as we head on into Tuesday night into Wednesday into the Northeast. Now watch this storm system moving through Chicago on Wednesday afternoon. Look at these linear line segments, these convective elements getting up into parts of the eastern Great Lakes, Ohio Valley. Also a surge of moisture from the north central Gulf Coast up the Appalachians here. We're going to watch this mesoscale convective complex move Wednesday night into Thursday morning into north central Ohio. Watch out, and that's going to fire more storms all the way up into southern Ontario. Another complex firing here into northeast Ohio on Thursday morning, and that's going to spread eastward throughout the day. Western Pennsylvania, western New York, all the way down the western spine of the Appalachians here, heading on into the northeast as well as we head later on into Thursday. Friday into Saturday here, we start to get some clearing. This high pressure is going to try to expand. We still have some showers hanging out off the outer banks here, but hopefully we can eke out a pretty good weekend for most areas. Later Saturday night, though, watch out. Around this ring of fire, we could see a few storms firing up here into parts of the eastern Great Lakes, but all in all here, we'll see this high pressure really kick in throughout the east until about Tuesday the 24th. It starts to break down. We get another big storm system moving through with the potential for some severe weather. That moves east and southeast here, hanging out some above average rainfall throughout the Appalachians to the Outer Banks and Norfolk, Virginia here. So watch out. Active storm track to the north here. It's going to drag another cold front through, so watch out. Most of the rain will be up here into Canada, but we'll also drag a cold front with storms just in time for the last weekend of June here into the Ohio Valley, into the Northeast, unfortunately. So that's what we're looking at. Very active weather pattern continuing as we stretch throughout late June. You can see even though we have high pressure here into the Appalachians and the East Coast, we're still looking at storms firing through it and around the periphery of it as well. All right, so looking on the European model here, we can see rainfall amounts. Let's kick it over to the rainfall amounts here. And there we go. So watch this as we go throughout the week. You can see where the storminess is going to be: the Mississippi River Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, especially North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and then up into the Mid-Atlantic. That's where we're going to see the surges of moisture. We also see that surge of moisture with that big tropical disturbance south of Texas here. So watch out, south and southeast Texas. We'll keep an eye on your tropical moisture as we head late week into next weekend. But look at this, as we head throughout the rest of June, you can get an idea. Really heavy rain up here through the Midwest, also up through the Appalachians, parts of the Mid-Atlantic. Some areas could be seeing 2 to 4 inches with locally higher amounts. All right, if we take a look at precipitation totals here on our latest GFS run, if we can get the precipitation to load here, let's see, there we go. So as we head throughout the rest of this week, you can see what's going to be happening. Lots of rain continuing exactly where the European was showing, from the Outer Banks of North Carolina to the Ohio Valley, Mississippi River Valley, up in through parts of the Midwest as well. We're going to be watching for a lot of rainfall. A widespread 1 to 2, maybe 3-inch amounts there. Those yellows and oranges, that's getting into the 4 to 6-inch range. This heads us all the way through June 26 here. So looking at a lot of rainfall moving, watching South Texas here, because some of this tropical moisture from our tropical wave or disturbance, whatever this becomes, could move its way up here into parts of South Texas. So we're looking at a lot of rainfall here. Southern Virginia, these areas getting upwards of close to 4.5 inches. And Joe Drehos here from the Johnson City, New York area, right around the time of our strawberry moon. You can see, look at that. That is a good, nice, huge moon shot here over Johnson City, New York. Looking very, wow, look at that. It's kind of like orangish, very orangish, large moon during this time of year with the strawberry moon. So nice captures there, Joe. And going back further in time, Tuesday, June 3rd, he captured the Canadian wildfire smoke sun. Look at that over Johnson City, New York. That eerily look of the sun you get with that filtered smoke just really brings out those orangish and reddish hues here. Nice captures there, Joe. It looks like this week will be a lot less Canadian wildfire smoke, so we're going to get a little bit of a break here. Before we continue with more weather coverage here, don't forget if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification down below so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. And don't forget, if you haven't checked out my Hurricane 2025 complete season forecast outlook of what I think is going to happen, how many storms we could have this hurricane season, and which months will be most active. Link in the description down below and also at the end of this video. Let's continue. Some better news here this week in the smoke department, Canadian wildfire smoke. You can see that parts of the Midwest and the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic here throughout Monday into Tuesday. We have some that you can see these light grays, but this is nowhere near where it was last week. So that is some great news. This is near surface smoke. So let's take a look at vertically integrated smoke here. Now, you can see that's a little bit more thicker, especially into northern New York here, southern Ontario. But as we go throughout time, yeah, that's going to stream throughout parts of central New England. But the good news is this is also giving us a lot less returns. So this should be a better week overall for Canadian wildfire smoke. I expect air quality to slowly improve here. And looking at our upper air weather pattern here, as we head throughout the rest of June, what does it hold? Well, a lot of ridging out here into parts of the eastern part of North America, so that means temperatures are going to be bumped up. Also, storm track really shifts towards the northern plains here. That's where we're going to see those severe weather outbreaks around that ring of fire. Now, look at as we head towards the 19th, we get this trough moving through the eastern lakes northeast. Watch out, there could be a big severe weather outbreak ensuing here as we head mid to late week this week. So watch out, that moves through the northeast as we head on into next weekend. Thankfully, a ridge building in across much of the lakes and northeast and east coast for that matter, helping to provide an area of high pressure, and maybe we'll actually get some less stormy weather as we head throughout the rest of the month here compared to what we've had. If we look at our NAO index, yeah, it's less influential here as we head into summer, but we're looking slightly positive, so very close to neutral. And here we go. As we take a look at our MJO index, you can see, yeah, we're right around, it's really hard to see because we're clustered right near the center, but we're right around phase 4, 5, and we're going to kind of spiral around here, mainly 3, 4, and eventually maybe 1 or 8 here. So active times are ahead, but in this time we're in the 3 to 4. It'll be quiet, so we'll it's going to be really close, so stay tuned. All right, so looking at our Canadian weather outlook here, starting out, let's see if we can get you some wildfire relief here. So as we go out here in time, you can start to see what's going to be happening across Canada here, northern Ontario and the west coast of British Columbia. That's where we're starting to get active. Also southern Manitoba through Ontario here, we get a storm system moving from the United States throughout the week here through June 17th into the 18th. You can see it's very, very active across these provinces, central areas right in through here. This is a little bit some good news here for the wildfire situation, especially northern Alberta area. Now watch this, Canadian Maritimes, this wraps up, and we're going to get some storm systems moving into southern Ontario come the Friday the 19th into the 20th here. Actually, Thursday the 19th, I should say, into the 20th. Look at this. Storm system, beneficial rain moving up through parts of Quebec here. That's where we're going to see a lot of this storminess wrap up here into the Canadian Maritimes. The heaviest rain out here in Alberta and Saskatchewan and British Columbia sets up well south of these wildfires. So unfortunately, that's going to provide little relief, but it also gets these areas further south. So it's decreasing your wildfire threat, which is good news. This is going to be a pretty good soaking rain. On the south side of it, though, watch out for some thunderstorms that could get severe through the 22nd into the 23rd. You can see this winds up as well. So we're going to see a very active weather pattern across Canada. That is some good news. It'll help bring some of these storm chances. Watch out through the 24th, though. Look at this area of low pressure. We could have a severe weather outbreak here into Western Ontario. So watch out for that. But unfortunately, look at high pressure building in these areas further west. That is going to increase the wildfire threat later on in the month here. And as we go through the end of the month, 27th into the 28th, the last frame here, you can see where the stormy areas are. Southern Ontario, Quebec, British Columbia, and Alberta. This is good news up in through here where the wildfires are. And let's look at your precipitation amounts here, liquid equivalent here into Canada. As we head throughout the week, southeast Canada, Western Canada. Those are the two areas we're going to watch for rainfall. Trying to get some rain up here into parts of northern Alberta and these areas, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. It's really tough. A lot of the storm track shifting further to the south. We'll get a little bit of rain. It's mainly southeastern Canada as we head throughout the rest of the month. Southern Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, parts of eastern Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, up to Newfoundland, and the Canadian Maritimes. Anywhere from 80 to 125 millimeters. Look at out west here. Northern British Columbia. This is some good news for the wildfire. But unfortunately, here into northern Alberta, where they're really raging, there's lesser amounts of rain. More into southern Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba areas where you'll get upwards of close to 125, 150 millimeters of rainfall. All right, so let's take a look at our temperatures here. Our temperature map throughout the week. Looking pretty interesting with lots of heat building from the plains eastward here. Watch out. This is going to be a lot warmer week than we've seen in the last couple weeks here. Many areas getting well into the 80s here throughout the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, even some 80-degree readings out the northeast. Look at these 90s creeping their way up into parts of the Carolinas and southern Virginia here. And watch this as we head throughout Wednesday. You can see the I-95 corridor, 90s all the way up here, even some mid-80s throughout the eastern Ohio Valley here, the eastern Great Lakes into Thursday. We get a little bit of, with the clouds and the rain, 70s throughout the eastern Great Lakes and northeast. Now watch here as we head towards Friday. You see this heat building out throughout not just the Gulf Coast, plenty of 90s, but the Central Plains getting into the low 100s here. And as we head throughout Saturday, next Saturday, that heat is building, upper 80s for parts of Ohio and Michigan here. Watch out, the heat wave is beginning. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, bringing to this grand upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. As we progress throughout the week, we have a chance of showers every day. A lot of clouds this week. Wednesday, the rain and storms move in, especially in the afternoon and evening hours into the overnight. Thursday, showers all day, pretty much. Heading up into the mid-80s as we head later in the week. Friday, we'll get some clearing, but there's still a chance of showers. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.